Light and focus.
So, if you're tired of playing the same old games and craving something retro but exciting, look no further. In today's episode, we're about to unearth 20 co-op arcade games that are like buried treasure waiting to be discovered. These games may not have hogged the limelight like some of their more famous counterparts, but trust me, they're the real MVPs of multiplayer gaming. From blasting aliens to battling baddies, these games are all about teamwork, strategy, and a whole lot of fun. These underrated co-op arcade games are here to save the day for you and inject some serious fun into your gaming sessions. So, grab some snacks and let's jump right into the video. Armored Warriors. Set in the post-war year 2281, Armored Warriors takes players on a mission to reclaim the captured capital of Melkide from an unidentified enemy, under the guise of a peacekeeping operation. The real deal? The Earth government's ulterior motive is to dominate the newfound enemy and control Raya, offering a compelling backdrop for this arcade beat-up. The gameplay here is a standout, especially in multiplayer mode. Players get to pilot customizable mechs, swapping parts like arms and weapons mid-battle, which are scavenged from defeated foes. This mechanic not only injects strategic depth, but also ensures each game feels unique. Players must tackle 7 varied stages, each with its own challenges and powerful bosses, enhancing the game's replay value. The co-op feature allows players to team up for combined attacks and share mech parts, fostering a collaborative and interactive gaming experience. Despite its super engaging gameplay, Armored Warriors remained under the radar in a genre dominated by other big titles, missing out on mainstream popularity. However, its inclusion in recent digital collections like the Capcom Beat-em-up bundle has brought new attention to this gem, allowing more players to discover its super fun and engaging co-op gameplay. Alien Storm. Alien Storm is this killer arcade game from Sega back in 1990, where Earth is under attack by these wild aliens, and it's up to the alien busters, Karen, Garth, and Scooter the robot, to save the day. It's like a mix of sci-fi horror with a dash of 90s arcade charm. Gameplay-wise, it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up that kinda reminds you of Golden Axe with its style and vibe. You pick one of the 3 characters, each rocking their own unique weapons and special attacks, like Garth blasting lightning or Karen calling down a nuclear missile to wipe the screen clean of enemies. You cruise through missions, smashing aliens that pop out of everyday objects, and you gotta keep an eye on your energy because it fuels those epic special moves. What's rad about this game is how it amps up the classic arcade formula with multiplayer action. Playing with friends is where it really shines. You team up, share the crazy, and just blast through aliens together. There's something super satisfying about implementing joint forces, especially when the gameplay shifts to those intense shooting gallery or running gun stages. Despite its cool features and fun co-op play, Alien Storm didn't really catch the popularity, which honestly is quite sad considering its potential. Dungeons & Dragons: Shadow over Mystara. Next up, we have Dungeons & Dragons: Shadow over Mystara, which is set in this epic D&D world. Mystara, after taking down the arch-lick Deimos, our heroes discover he's just a pawn in a bigger plot by the sorceress named Sin, who turns out to be a centuries-old red dragon with world-conquering ambitions. It's all about battling through to stop her and this monstrous fiend she's trying to awaken. Pure fantasy gold. The gameplay is both action and RPG elements, where you can play as different characters like a cleric, a thief, or a magic user, each with unique abilities and gear. What's really cool is how you collect and equip items, spells, and gear as you level up, like finding a hidden staff of wizardry that unlocks a massive attack if you meet certain conditions. You've got all these different paths and endings which make replaying a blast. Now, as a co-op game, this thing is rock solid. You can team up with friends, each choosing different characters, and strategize together with special moves and spells, sharing loot and tackling tough bosses. It's got these awesome mechanics like combo moves and a D&D style magic system that uses spells you have to recharge and manage. But despite all this, it didn't get the mainstream love it deserved back in the day. Maybe it was too niche with its D&D roots or got overshadowed by other arcade hits. But man, it's such a standout game for those who get into it, especially with a buddy. Violent Storm. Let me fill you in on Violent Storm, a classic beat-em-up arcade game from Konami that came out in '93. Speaking of the plot, World War III has just wrapped up and people are trying to rebuild their lives. But of course, there's a new take. These ruthless gangs, especially the notorious Geld gang, are causing chaos, making it tough for everyone to get back on their feet. Enter our heroes, Boris, Wade and Kyle. 3 tough guys who aren't about to let the city crumble. They're all about protecting the little guy. Things get personal when a gang member kidnaps their friend Sheena right in front of them. Now, it's not just about cleaning up the streets. It's a rescue mission. Let's focus on the gameplay now. You and up to 2 friends can pick from the trio, each with unique fighting styles. Wade's got this killer uppercut. Boris is all about power with his throws, and Kyle, he's the speedster with rapid-fire kicks. The game throws you into 7 insane stages, from rundown towns to Lord Geld's own museum, packed with every kind of baddie you can think of, armed with everything from lead pipes to molten metal. Despite all its cool features and downright addictive gameplay, this game sort of flew under the radar back in the day. It was like the unsung hero of arcade gaming, quietly waiting for its moment to shine amidst the glitz and glam of the big titles hogging the spotlight. Knights of the Round. Knights of the Round is another arcade game from Capcom back in '91, all about the legendary King Arthur and his knights. After Arthur pulls Excalibur from the stone, he, alongside Lancelot and Percival, sets out on a mission to dethrone the evil King Garibaldi and unite Britain. Classic knight stuff, right? The gameplay is easy to get hooked on. Think of a side-scrolling beat-em-up similar to Final Fight but with a twisty new take. You get to level up your characters, enhancing the weapons and armor as you progress through 7 stages filled with all sorts of medieval enemies. What's cool is the blocking system. It's not just about smashing buttons. You gotta time your blocks to gain invincibility moments to strike back. Miss a block though, and you're wide open. Despite its awesome features and the absolute blast of teaming up fun, this game never quite made it to the big leagues like some other beat-em-ups. It's like this hidden treasure that somehow slipped through the cracks, you know? And it's such a shame because there's just something magical about whacking baddies with your buddies, leveling up side by side, and feeling like true knights of the realm. If you're a retro gaming fan and you've got a couple of mates itching for some arcade thrills, this game could be an absolute must-try. The Peacekeepers. The Peacekeepers is the finale of the Rushing Beat trilogy, but it kinda stands on its own, especially with its darker, more complex plot compared to its predecessors. The game is set in a dystopian 2015, where the megacorporation Deutschland Moldavia is ruling with an iron fist, messing around with genetic experiments. 4 characters, each screwed over by DM in their unique ways, are out for revenge. It's kinda like a beat-em-up meets a revenge thriller. Gameplay-wise, The Peacekeepers is a hit, especially in co-op. You can choose from 6 characters, each with their cool moves and backstories. The game throws a variety of enemies at you that require different tactics, and the special moves are just icing on the cake. What's super cool is the game's branching paths and multiple endings. It adds a ton of replay value, making you want to beat it over and over to see everything. Now, despite its awesomeness, it remained underrated. Maybe it was outshined by other big titles of the era, or the previous games didn't build enough hype, but it's a shame. As a co-op game, it's fantastic. Teaming up with a buddy, strategizing on how to take down bosses, and working through the different storylines together is a ton of fun. It's definitely one of those games that deserved more spotlight than it got. Carrier Airwing. Alright, now we have Carrier Airwing, which is another side-scrolling shooter from Capcom back in '90. And dude, it's a blast. The setup? It's 1997, and this fictional Middle Eastern country, Rabu, is threatening the world with all sorts of crazy weapons, including tactical nukes and a space laser. Naturally, it's up to 3 of the finest Navy pilots, Rick, Mark and James, to hop into their jets off the USS Carl Vinson and kick some serious butt. The gameplay's super smooth and feels like a pumped-up version of its predecessor, UN Squadron. You get to pick from 3 different jet fighters, each with its own style, and blast through 10 stages of intense dogfights and ground strikes. What's cool is the upgrade system between levels where you can beef up your jet's weapons and shields, making each mission feel more personalized. Now as a co-op game, it's top-notch. You and a pal of yours can team up, choosing your fighters and coordinating attacks, which adds a whole layer of strategy to the shoot-'em-up chaos. Whether you're covering each other or dividing to conquer, it's that shared battle rush that makes it so much fun. But regardless of how awesome it is, Carrier Airwing never really hit fame name and got outshined by other big titles of the era. But seriously, if you're into arcade shooters and you've got a friend to join in, well, this game's an unsung treasure. Shock Troopers. Do you guys remember Shock Troopers? It's this intense run-and-gun arcade game from '97 by SNK. The plot's all action movie vibes. This evil group, the Blood Scorpions, kidnaps a scientist and his granddaughter to get this crazy drug that turns people into super soldiers. You're part of a squad of 8 diverse soldiers from around the globe, and you've got to blast through enemy lines to save them and, basically, the world. The gameplay is also super dynamic. You get to pick from 2 modes: Lonely Wolf, where you stick with one character, or Team Battle, where you can swap between a team of 3 soldiers on the fly. This choice adds a whole layer of strategy because each mode offers different benefits, like more health or a better arsenal. What's awesome about Team Battle is how it amps up the co-op experience. You and your buddies can each control a character, switching between them based on whose special weapons and skills suit the current challenge or boss fight. Each character has their own unique bomb attack, which can really turn the tide during intense firefights. Even with its killer gameplay and fun cooperative elements, it didn't really blow up in the mainstream. It's a shame because the mix of strategic character switching and non-stop action make it an exceptional game in the arcade shooter scene. Three Wonders. Three Wonders is another Capcom arcade gem from '91, packed with not 1 but 3 different games, each with its own unique flavor. It's like getting 3 times the fun in one cabinet, which is pretty cool, but surprisingly, it didn't really catch on like some of the other arcade classics. First up in the collection, you've got Midnight Wanderers: Quest for the Chariot, which is this charming platformer where you're running and gunning as a hobbit-like character named Lou, alongside his buddy Siva. They're on a quest to stop a villain who's turning the people into wooden statues. Classic good versus evil stuff. Then there's Chariot Adventure Through the Sky, a scrolling shooter that has you flying on a chariot, blasting through enemies to save your home planet and princess. It picks up where the platformer leaves off and adds a whole new aerial combat vibe to the mix. Lastly, Don't Pull, a puzzle game that's a ton of fun, especially in co-op. You can play as a rabbit or squirrel, pushing blocks to squash monsters. It's like those brain-busting puzzle games from back in the day, but with a buddy, which cranks up the fun. Despite the variety and solid gameplay, Three Wonders never really soared to mainstream success, which is a bummer because it's perfect for when you're chilling with a friend. It's got a little bit of everything: platforming, shooting, and puzzle solving, making it a sweet pick for anyone who digs classic arcade action. If you ever spot it in an arcade or see it in a retro collection, definitely give it a whirl. It's an underrated co-op blast from the past. Undercover Cops. Next, we have Undercover Cops, which is a futuristic beat-em-up with unique environmental interactions. This one's a beat-em-up from Irem, launched in '92, where you're in future New York City circa 2043. It's gritty, it's grimy, and it's got this real cool dystopian vibe. The setup? Awesome. You're part of this squad called City Sweepers, basically police agents who are a mix between street fighters and crime busters. They've got the task of cleaning up the streets, which are littered with all sorts of enemies, from human thugs to bizarre mole creatures and jetpack mutants. The action's heavily inspired by Final Fight, but man, it's got its own unique flavor. You can't use enemy weapons, but you get to throw around oil drums, concrete columns, and even use fish as weapons. Plus, you eat small critters to regain health. Speaking of the gameplay, it's a classic side-scroller where you can choose from 3 characters: Zan, the ex-karate master; Matt, the former gridiron player; and Rosa, the quick and agile vigilante. Each has their special moves and traits, making the game varied and fun to play through with friends. Coming to where it shined, teaming up with buddies to take down bosses like a cyborg or a mad scientist turned monster offered some hilarious and intense brawling sessions. Even though it had all these cool elements, Undercover Cops never really reached the wall of fame like other arcade classics. Yeah, it's quite a disappointment because if you're into beat-em-ups, this game offered a killer combo of super cool settings, fun characters, and great multiplayer action. Mystic Warriors. Mystic Warriors, Wrath of the Ninjas, is this ninja-themed side-scroller by Konami from '93, totally flying under the radar, despite its rad gameplay. It's got the same developers as Sunset Riders, so you know it's packed with action. The setting is a dystopian future in New York, where this evil group called the Skull Enterprise has basically taken over. You play as one of 5 young ninjas: Spyros, Kaima, Kojiro, Brad, or Yuri, who are on a mission to overthrow these baddies. One of your ninja pals gets kidnapped right off the bat, which sets off this wild rescue and revenge saga. The gameplay is super slick, with you chucking unlimited shurikens or getting up close with your weapon. You can jump between levels, slide around, and even switch characters after losing a credit. Plus, the game bumps up the classic arcade feel with power-ups like better shuriken abilities, health foods, or shields, making each one of the 9 stages unique and exciting. But this is where it really impresses us, the co-op mode. You can team up with a buddy or 3, depending on the setup, and tear through the stages together. Each ninja has different strengths, so combining forces feels genuinely cooperative. Maybe it was overshadowed by other games at the time, or the marketing didn't hit right, but man, it's a title worthy of its name. Ninja Baseball Batman. Ninja Baseball Batman? No, it's not what you think. No bats or caves, just pure weird arcade fun. It's this 1993 beat-em-up where ninjas and baseball collide in the most hilarious way possible, developed by Irem. So, here's the scoop. The Baseball Hall of Fame's precious artifacts have been stolen, and the Commissioner of Baseball is like, no, we gotta fix this. Enter our heroes, Captain Jose, Twin Bats Rhino, Beanball Roger, and Stick Straw. Each of these characters is basically a ninja decked out in baseball gear, and they're all about retrieving those stolen goods. Each stage rockets you across the United States, from big cities to dusty deserts. Gameplay? It's a riot. Think typical beat-em-up but with a baseball twist. You've got all these crazy moves that use up health for massive damage, plus you can perform combos, toss enemies around, or dash attack them into oblivion. When your health bar flashes red, it's go time for pulling off some insane moves. Just make sure you don't knock out your health completely. Now, the co-op is where all the fun is at. You and up to 3 friends can jump in together, each picking a different character. The chaos multiplies as you all combo off each other, and the items like baseballs, shurikens, or even cheerleaders, yeah, they can wipe out enemies or drop food. Just add to the madness. But sadly, although it offers a wave of charm and crazy fun, this game never quite shone in the mainstream radar. It's one of those games that's perfect for a game night, or if you're looking for laughs and some solid teamwork. Totally underrated, but an absolute blast to play with friends. Metamorphic Force. The evil's back in town, and it's up to 4 ancient guardians to morph into beastly warriors and kick some serious butt. That's the wild ride you get with Metamorphic Force, a 1993 arcade gem from Konami that sadly flew under the radar. So here's the thing, the evil King Death Shadow is back from the dead, ready to wreak havoc and rule the world. But fear not, because the goddess Athena has called upon 4 heroes to stop him. These dudes, Van, Claude, Max and Ivan, aren't your average heroes. No. They can transform into badass anthropomorphic beasts to battle the forces of darkness. Coming to the gameplay now, it's classic arcade beat-em-up action with a fresh take. You'll brawl your way through waves of enemies, from frogmen to lizard men, all the way to epic bosses like Cabrios the Ram Man and a flaming chicken man. Yeah, you heard that right. Oh, and did I mention you can shapeshift into animal forms, grab a golden statue power-up, and boom! You're a weird panther, minotaur, white werewolf, or weird bear, tearing through baddies like nobody's business. And the co-op, it's where the magic happens. You and your friends can just pick a different guardian and unleash chaos together. Whether you're smashing through hordes of enemies or taking down bosses, it's just awesome to play with friends. Metamorphic Force didn't get justice and never got the attention it deserved. It's like a remarkable find of arcade beat-em-ups, waiting to be discovered by anyone craving some old-school action. Ninja Kid. Imagine it's the 80s and arcade fever is in full swing. Enter Ninja Kun, Adventure of Devil Castle, the OG ninja game that kicked off a whole series. Released by Jellicoe in 1984, it's the tale of our ninja hero on a quest to conquer the demon castle and save the day. So, gameplay-wise, it's classic arcade action with a ninja element. You're exploring through 3 different levels of upward-scrolling madness, taking out enemies with shurikens and some good old head-stomping. Oh, and keep an eye out for those orbs. They unlock bonus levels if you collect 3. It's simple, addictive, and perfect for those quick arcade sessions. Now, here's where it gets interesting. While Ninja Kun didn't quite steal the spotlight, it still made its mark. In Japan, it was a hit, earning a spot as the second most successful arcade unit of the month. But outside of Japan, it kinda flew under the radar. Why? Who knows? But for ninja fans and arcade enthusiasts, it's a must-play. It's got that old-school charm. Simple yet addictive gameplay with enough ninja action to keep you hooked. Sky Soldiers. Alright, buckle up for a wild ride through time, because we're about to talk about Sky Soldiers, an arcade game that throws you into a futuristic showdown against a rogue supercomputer named Desmora. This AI powerhouse decides it's a good idea to mess with history by sending war machines back 100 years, causing chaos throughout different timelines. Enter the Stealths, special space fighters sent to fix the mess and take down Desmora. Speaking of the gameplay, you're jumping back in time, starting from Great Britain in 1945 all the way to a space station in 2110. Each stage has 2 levels and ends with a big boss battle. Talk about intense. But here's the kicker. Before each stage, you get to choose your weapons. Do you go for the trusty wave shot, or maybe spice things up with some homing missiles? The choice is yours, my friend. As you make your way through enemies, keep an eye out for parachuting pilots. They'll score you some bonus points. And don't forget to stock up on bomb weapons, because you'll need them to take down these pesky bosses. Sky Soldiers might not have gotten the love it deserved. Sure, it had the cool time travel theme and organized weapon selection, but it kinda flew under the radar. Maybe it was overshadowed by other shoot-'em-ups of the time. Who knows? But for co-op enthusiasts, it's a masterpiece waiting to be discovered. Bucky Oare. The galaxy's in trouble, and it's up to a ragtag crew of space heroes to save the day. That's the setup for Bucky Oare, an arcade game based on the action-packed cartoon series. The evil Toad Empire's causing chaos, enslaving planets left and right, and it's up to our heroes to put a stop to it all. Wait, things get way more interesting. Bucky Oare isn't your run-of-the-mill beat-em-up. It's got a new thing. Yeah, you're still brawling your way through waves of enemies, but you've also got a laser gun at your disposal. So, while you're punching and kicking your way to victory, you're also blasting baddies left and right. You've got 4 heroes to choose from. Bucky Oare, the fearless rabbit captain; Jenny, the telepathic Aldebaran cat; Dead-eyed Duck, the 4-armed mallard; and Blinky, the one-eyed android. Each one brings their own unique skills to the table, and it's up to you to pick the right one for the job. Now here's the thing. Bucky Oare might not have gotten the attention it deserved. Sure, it had a cool cartoon tie-in, colorful animation, and even voice actors from the series. But for some reason it didn't quite get the popularity. Doesn't make it any less kick-ass of an arcade game though. Guardians Denjin Makai 2. Alright, imagine a world where chaos reigns and only a few brave souls stand between civilization and total destruction. That's the setup for Guardians, also known as Denjin Makai 2 in Japan. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up that pits players against hordes of enemies in a battle to save the world. Speaking of the gameplay, you and a friend team up to take on the bad guys. You've got your trusty joystick and attack buttons, and you're ready to dish out some serious punishment. The game lets you perform combos, throws, and special moves as you fight your way through each level. One cool feature is the ability to grab enemies and either toss them around or use them as weapons. It's all about using your surroundings to your advantage, whether it's picking up a weapon or strategically throwing an enemy into a group of foes. And when you're playing with a friend, things get even more intense. You can unleash team-based special moves that pack a real punch and help turn the tide of battle in your favor. Guardians is one of those games that slipped under the radar. Despite its solid gameplay and cool co-op mechanics, it never quite got the deserving attention. But it really was the kind of game that you could play with a friend for hours on end, thanks to its super addictive gameplay. EDF, Earth Defense Force. Next up, we have EDF, Earth Defense Force, that takes you to the future where Earth is under attack by the ruthless Azima Empire. They're hell-bent on wiping out all life on our planet, and it's up to the Earth Defense Force, EDF, to stop them. You hop into the cockpit of the XA-1 space fighter, ready to take on the invaders and save humanity. So, Earth Defense Force is a classic horizontal shooter game where you go your way through waves of enemies and epic boss battles. Your goal? Survive each level and take down the big bad bosses at the end. It's all about dodging enemy fire, collecting power-ups, and unleashing devastating attacks on your foes. You start each level with 3 shield points, which can absorb enemy attacks. But don't get too comfortable. Once those shields are gone, you'll lose one of your precious credits. And if you run out of credits, it's game over, buddy. The game has got a unique leveling system too, where you gain experience from defeated enemies to unlock stronger weapons. Now, here's the real deal. Earth Defense Force is a hidden gem that never quite got the mainstream success. Maybe it was overshadowed by other shooters of the time, or maybe it just didn't get the marketing push it needed. But for those who gave it a shot, Earth Defense Force was pure arcade bliss. Blazing Star. Last but not least, we have Blazing Star, which takes place in a world ruled by artificial intelligence. Cyborgs start remembering their humanity and decide to rebel against the very systems that created them. That's where you come in. You're one of these cyborgs, piloting a badass ship and blasting your way through hordes of enemies to take down those AI overlords once and for all. Blazing Star is all about that classic side-scrolling shoot-'em-up action, like Polestar and R-Type. You get to choose your cyborg and ship, each with its own unique abilities and firepower. Whether you prefer rapid-fire shots or charging up for a massive attack, there's a playstyle for everyone. As you zoom through each stage, power-ups litter the screen, boosting your ship's weaponry and score. But watch out for those tricky stage hazards. Narrow passages and enemy waves will keep you on your toes. And let's not forget about the epic boss battles waiting for you at the end of each stage. You'll need quick reflexes and some serious firepower to take them down and rack up those bonus points. Blazing Star didn't get the love it deserved when it first hit arcades and home systems back in '98. Sure, it got some mixed reviews, but critics praised its stunning graphics and intense boss fights. It's only in recent years, with re-releases on smartphones and home consoles, that it started to get the recognition it deserves. So, if you're to hop on in a co-op arcade game that's got heart-pounding action and stunning visuals, Blazing Star would be your go-to. Alright folks, there you have it. 20 underrated co-op arcade games that are absolutely gems waiting to get some fame. From super cool adventures with knights to blasting through space with your buddies, there's something here for every team player. Loved our list? Think we missed an iconic game? Comment below with your favourite co-op arcade experiences and hit that like button if you're as pumped about these games as we are. Let's keep the game alive, both on screen and off. Game on, team players.